Do you want to be a really, really good violinist? You will probably have realized then that this doesn't happen overnight. It will take a lot of practice and determination and a lot of time to accomplish that goal. And to achieve this goal, you will need to organize your practice so that you will get the most out of your available practice time. Something that I call efficient practice. And in this video, I'm hoping to give you some pointers, some guidelines to make your learning process easier and also hopefully more effective at the same time. We will discuss how to set goals, how to maximize your efforts, how to use your time wisely and effectively, and by the end of this video, regardless of the playing level that you are currently at, you will have picked up ideas to make faster progress. So you may have several different types of music to play, and I'm going to make this outline today applicable to both the serious amateur as well as more advanced players. So maybe some of you might be thinking about an application to music college or to university, and while the intensity of each player may be different, the ideas remain remarkably similar. So for instance, you may be playing scales, you may be playing technical exercises, etudes, songs, practice pieces, pieces from tutor books, you may be playing concertos, old pieces or solo Bach. Quite confusing if you want to fit it all in and give everything the attention that it needs. So let's begin by structuring our work. And I am always thinking about how to make progress in violin playing faster, both in terms of technical development as well as in terms of progress with performance pieces and performance goals in mind. We are therefore going to structure our practice in different layers, and I will come back to this later. I tend to divide my time up in percentages and practice the different parts of my violin routine accordingly. So there are the basics, the technical exercises, and I give them 20% of my time. Scales also get 20% of my time. So do etudes, concertos and solo Bach. And this way it's easy enough for each individual to work out how much time to devote to each category depending on how much practice you can fit in each day. So if you are a music college student and you have 5 hours to play, you might play an hour of each of these categories. If you have 2 hours, and many of you here on YouTube tell me that you play the violin for 2 hours each day, then you break up your practice in chunks of about 25 minutes. And you must remember also to take regular breaks, at least 10 minutes between each of the categories, so that you might be able to do some stretching exercises or maybe go for a walk, so that your mind is fresh again when you restart and practice the next category. When you learn something new, anything, not just the violin, you will need to devote some time to developing new skills on the one hand, as well as refining and further exploring the skills that you already have in this subject on the other hand. In relation to violin playing, I shall make the distinction between development, so that is learning new techniques, and performance, and that means perfecting pieces that you've learned previously. And each of these two, development and performance, should feature evenly in your practice. Roughly 50% of your time should be devoted to learning new stuff, and roughly 50% of your time should be spent perfecting pieces or techniques that you already know. So on the development side, we have physical exercises. So this might involve exercises to improve your vibrato, or exercises to perform trills or finger fall or finger lifting exercises, also maybe exercises for the left and right elbows and so on. And you can practice these exercises first and then involve them into the practice of scales and studies. When we practice etudes, we highlight one particular aspect of the violin technique and develop that so that we can see if it works in the context of a piece. And this is particularly the case with less repetitive studies, and you should always aim to find studies that are melodious rather than repetitive if possible. And then when you practice scales, you would always try to play the scales in the keys of your performance pieces, so you create a connection between the performance pieces and the scales that you're learning. So there is always a taxonomy of how your practice is built on different layers, here we are again, to support your performance pieces. So let's think about performance pieces now. And performance pieces may be either solo Bach or violin concertos or any complete songs or pieces from your tutor books that you might be learning. And for most, the temptation will be to make this kind of repertoire study the bulk of your practice routine. However, as we have seen previously, this should be taking up about 50% of your total time available. As you may have heard me talk about in other videos before, I tend to give my students 3 pieces to learn. One piece which is brand new this week. And my pupils are learning this piece without having seen it before. They learn to play the notes, the rhythms, the fingerings, the bowings and so on. Playing will be slow and the piece will gradually become more familiar over a couple of days. Then the next week in learning that piece is the development phase. This phase, for most, will also take about a week. So now we know the notes and how the piece should sound, but we're going to go into greater depth about exactly how to execute the techniques. So we are referring back to the technical component of our practice, and I'll give you an example of how you can practice this in Chanson Triste by Tchaikovsky. So the question is now, how exactly do I bow to get the portato sounding exactly as I want it to? Do I like to have the notes shorter or longer? Do I like that or do I like this? And what do I need to do exactly then to achieve that kind of sound that I have in mind? And how did I make that bowing happen? What exactly did I do with my bow hand to get that shorter or longer connection with the bow? So this phase might also involve questions like, how do I shift from the first position to the third position? What exactly do I have to do to achieve that shift? So you mull over the technical aspects in detail, and this questioning, what exactly do I have to do, is where your greatest progress lies. We live in a time of great haste, and being able to stop and reflect on exactly what you have to do to make the technique happen is so valuable for fast progress. And for some, this is a seeming contradiction. We stop and analyze, and we go slow and observe, and this is where your progress is going to come from. Getting back now to my 3 weeks of learning a piece. Finally, the 3rd week is what I call getting a piece performance ready. All the technical pitfalls should by now have been resolved. We're going to add dynamics and other performance directions. We're going to play the piece at speed and practice with metronome, and perhaps also have a go at playing this piece with the piano accompaniment. And this is where it might be helpful to have a very specific goal. So you might tell yourself, this week I'm going to perform this piece in my lesson or to my friend. And this will give you also a feedback mechanism to check how effective your 3-week method has been. So let's assume that you have performed this piece. So it may be that you were successful, that you played your best ever performance, and that you have learned this piece to a very high standard in a relatively short space of time. Yay! It may also be that it turns out that it was too early to have performed this piece, and that is okay. We must never forget that. You will have learned a lot in the process, and you will keep developing your playing with a much better understanding of how the technique feeds into the pieces. So having ideas about how you can organise your practice will make your practice more creative and therefore more effective. So if you've learned something today, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do please also write about your experience in the comments section below this video. It is really helpful for others to read, even though you might think it might not be. We all know that learning to play the violin can at times be a lonely place. Knowing that we're all in this together and supporting each other could just be that lifeline that you yourself may find useful one day. Thank you very much for watching.